No, Kei Murata.
I'm George Iago.
I'm Sam Noriyuki.
I'm Sam Samashima.
Paul Go.
Okay, Vicky.
Okay. The first thing I'd like to know is when was this temple organized? How,
47.
47. 1947.
47. 1947.
okay. Thank you. Where did you first meet? Did you meet in people's homes? Yeah, maybe that.
小田氏のところ、小田氏のところね、ピアス、ピアスの小田、ミスター小田プレイス、ホストミーティング。
Oh, okay.
Well, that wasn't 1947,
Yeah,
though.
put your paper
No.
This he's talking way earlier.
Okay, maybe we should
Like,
talk about.
That's what we want to, just tell me,
Yeah.
talk about the early days here in Greeley.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 1947, that's when the church, this church was built.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Before, when it started way back in the 20s.
Okay. If he could just talk about, when he first came to Greeley, what the community was like, how many people there were, what business he was in. That kind of-
Do you have a question in there?
Yeah,
Well, sort of, but you can ask him.
because
It's better just to say it instead of read it.
一番初めにね、日本人がね、グリーリーにどのくらいおったかって。日本人がグリーリーにどのくらいおったかって。
はい。
日本、I guess you better sit right here. You better sit right here. Because he's, yeah.
Okay.
グリーリーにね、どのくらい日本人がおりましたかって。
24, 5. I think.
You guys interpret it as you feel.
Because we don't know, I don't know what he said.
Maybe 24, 5
Oh, okay.
people.
Oh, and what year?
tell him he can answer in Japanese too.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
easier.
that's okay.
That's what they, but he just papas some English.
See,
Okay.
何年頃
え
何年頃
19ここのリストじゃろ、1920
Around there.
1924, 5, I think.
What business was he in?
He was farmer.
Okay.
Most of グリーリーの人はファームしよったね。ファームしよったでしょ。
何しよったか。プリニアエルグラでファーマー。3年 working in town, but all I think farmer.
Okay. Do you remember Reverend Tamai?
玉井先生覚えてるかって。玉井先生。玉井先生。
玉井先生を放送したい。
does everybody know Herb Inouye? Okay, Herb. So that everyone, all the Isseis and the
玉井先生のこともう元から知っとるでしょ。
いや、玉井先生、若い時から知ってるよ。じゃあ、保育館電話、I know.
Ever since 玉井、Mr.
保育
玉井先生
19年もとかね。
About 1930?
For the time over the Denver, 1920, right?
Something like that.
20, right? I think 1920, I think.
Okay. What do you remember about him?
玉井先生は何を覚えてるかって玉井先生について。 玉井先生についてね、どのくらい覚えてるかって、何を覚えてるかって、
どのくらい？
先生に対して玉井先生のことなんか思い出が、
玉井先生若い時には、プリグルオールジャパニーズエンゲージ、ジャパニーズエンゲージ、エンゲージとか言葉。Not English, Japanese, 玉井先生。
Japanese language.
Yes, I know. Oh, pretty good. 玉井先生 and the next, 角田先生、Japanese language, 説教。
Sermon was
Pretty good. Yeah, not English. 玉井先生 all Japanese, pretty good. Sometimes sing, sometimes okay, I don't know. Yes, Tama sensei pretty good. Next time, Tsunoda sensei pretty good too. Yeah, Japanese English. Not English, Japanese. Oh, pretty good. I cannot English.
That's okay. Yes.
I think what he's trying to say is that Reverend Tamai took over more in the Japanese language. He took over the Issei's part. And then Reverend Sonova was our English-speaking reverend. And they were, what he's saying is they were both real good reverends that helped us all along and getting us going, I guess you might say.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about the early days at the temple when you, as you know?
The early days? Well, I didn't live around here too long. I came in this community, I think it was 1939. And at that time, as far as I could remember, they had a little building down Kersey where the Japanese community met. And Mr. Ozaki was the main pusher in this religious stuff. And as soon as, well, I think George moved over here about the same time, and they wanted us to start a young Buddhist club. That's where all this started from.
And when was that about?
And I remember meeting down Kersey a couple of times.
1939?
Yeah, and 39 and 40. We had a meeting there and finally organized a Young Buddhist Association, that's including all young people, male, female. And then after we got that going, why they decided maybe we ought to have a church. So they got together and talked about it. And majority of the Issei's agreed to that. And
this is a general question. Approximately how many Isseis were here in the 30s, in the 40s?
how many
Isseis?
Issei's? Gosh, I don't know. According to Mr. Mata, they must have been
24?
24, 5. I think it's Kanai でしょ。Kanai のことでしょ。
family, I think.
Family でしょ。About 24, 25 families. I think there was about that many, 24 or 5 families.
What were the hardships back then that you remember?
Pardon?
You know, the hard times, the good times?
Oh, the hard times?
Yeah.
Well, well, as far as I was concerned, and most Issei's, they had their problems all the way through until they died. I don't think there's a single Issei around here that really enjoyed living. Do you think?
No, I don't think so.
You know, majority of them were farmers, and farming was awful rough. And it's just kind of nip and tuck deal. Nobody got rich on that, that's for sure.
What was the crop that they farmed? What crops did they farm?
What was it?
Crop. What kind of
What
crop?
did they grow?
Any kind, just
Yeah,
Cabbage and onions mostly.
cabbage, onions, beets.
sugar beet, and then at that time we was raising some vegetables, cabbage and onions. That was the main crop of most ISSEIs anyway, was cabbage, onions, and different vegetables, melons. Few of them raised sugar beets. That was about it.
Were there any particular, was there anything, any particular conditions in Greeley that maybe didn't apply to other Japanese communities around Colorado? Anything specific here?
Can you answer that, Sam?
What's that? What was that now?
I don't know. Is there anything specifically good or bad about living in Greeley as compared to Fort Lupton or Denver or some other community?
You know, of course, I didn't come till after the war. I came from California.
What year?
You know, 1942, April 1942. That's, you know, when they evacuated all the Japanese Americans.
Which minister was here in 42? Which minister do you remember?
It was Reverend Tamai. Reverend Tamai was here.
He was here a long time.
Very long time. His hardships, why he can, they can tell you best out of Denver. He really had a hard time, you know. Model T Ford, no finances. It was really hard for him, and he had to travel all over the state, plus part of Wyoming. So, now this Reverend Tamai is another story. It's really something.
What made him a good minister?
Well, it was just that he was so humble, and you know, he, with what little he had, he did so much. I mean, he was really in rags, and you know, he just was. He had a hard time, and that's because the Japanese population was very, you know, was very poor.
I guess in Denver, most of the people,
Can you pause? Can we stop for a second?
in Denver and everything, everybody, they more or less call him the living Buddha. I mean, he just, everything he did was just, and I guess that's what I have to say about Reverend Tamai. But
Okay.
oh, you want to put this to somebody else?
Just hang on to the microphone. No, just hang on.
Oh.
We're getting them okay right here.
No, I know.
I'm sorry. Just, you can continue with what you were saying.
Pardon?
Continue with what you were saying about Reverend Tamai.
Well, there's, from what I read of Reverend Tamai, like Mr. Samashima said he was, there was a lot of years when he first started that he would work without pay, and a lot of time when the note came due, like at the church, and if none of the members had any money, he would, if he had any, why he would use his own money to pay, help pay the note. And I guess from the place he slept, that hotel where he slept and everything, why then, they say any time it rained, why, you know, he'd have to put buckets and stuff on his bed and gets the water, and even shoes, why he would have to use cardboard, just like I have to do sometime, you know. Put cardboard, so at least it might last another week or two, but he still, there's not one day that he thought of leaving. And
What year did you come to Greeley?
oh, well, I lived in Greeley all my life.
You were born here?
Yeah, I was born here. And of course, my dad came, I think he was here about the time when Mr. Murata said the Japanese was in northern Colorado. He came, my dad came around probably around 1910 and that around.
How large was the congregation? Can you tell us more about when it was really big?
No, it was about, like Mr. Murata said, about between 20, 25 families. It's probably even, that's what we have right now at present, as far as the Buddhist families, and right here in Greeley. I would probably say we have about 20 families. And, but out of the 20s, why, you know, you take like, there's certain families have much as 4, you know, like the Yagos, there's 4 or 5, and of course before, why, there was one Yago, but there were still so many of them that passed away, when the population was probably the biggest was right here during the war, during the evacuation, and well, from about 1940 to around 1947, that's when they start going back, isn't it, to California? And along with them, why then there's few of the families that lived here from 1900 did go back too. This Mr. Ozaki would be one of them. He was here from way back. When Mr. Murata mentioned something about this community starting in Paris, that is where most of the ISSEI families was a little bit, and then a lot of them most of them came back to Greeley and Kersey, and there's still some people that still live in Alt, but they are not members of the Greeley Buddhist Temple. They have their own. They are called independents of the tri-state.
And I did too good of a job. Yeah. And so now, what? Go ahead. This is like big time television. Okay.
Oh.
This is the way 60 Minutes does it.
I'm originally from Nebraska, but
What part of Nebraska?
North Platte, in Hershey, around in that area. But Mr. Reverend Tamai came out to us in Nebraska. He drove out there in the early 30s, and he come up and he'd give services over there in our community, and then he'd go on to the next place. So we knew him from back there, and then I met him again when I moved up here in 39.
What business were you in?
Pardon?
What business were you in?
I was a farmer.
Did the farming community help each other collect up their crops every year?
Well, we did some, but then we each had our own, so we was busy doing our own.
About how large was the average spread around here?
Some of them were very small spreads, and then some of them were a little bit bigger, but we had about a 100-acre place. And we raised beets and some hay and grain, and besides cabbage and onions and some other vegetables sometimes.
So back then, the families on the average were a little larger than they are now, like 5 or 6 people per family? Or
Oh, no, it was,
I'm a
we're
family
from
of 8.
a family of 8
kids,
to
so
10 children.
That's what.
Oh, our president is here.
What?
Our president is here.
Uh-huh.
Okay, great. Tell them to come on in.
Yeah.
Yeah, pull up the chair. Hey, put your microphone back on, Paul.
Oh, it must have fell off.
Diminish, begin to diminish.
Mainly because of the poor farming conditions. Most of the younger people, they couldn't make any money here, so they started looking for different type of work to do.
What years was this when you started seeing this?
It started from about 47, 48, long in there, they started moving away. Most of them went toward the West Coast. They thought there was better opportunity out that way. And I guess it worked out real good for them. A few of us hardcores, well, we try to struggle it out. And,
Have you done pretty good?
well, we made our living, that was about it.
So now you're all retired?
I know I done a lot better after I quit farming.
What about the women in the community?
I originally came from Japan,
What part?
Fukuoka, and I came right next following year when this church was built.
What year was that?
48. So I've been here pretty long.
She is a war bride.
What are your memories of the ministries?
Well, in Japan they have Buddhism and Buddhist. They have a temple and everything, but we don't gather like this, and that was kind of different from back home.
Tell us a little more about the differences.
Well, they have a temple, and each goes to their own temple. But in America, they each community has their own member, and every occasion, like today, HanaMatsuri and stuff like that, people get together, and it's real nice. I thought. Over there is too many people, so I guess it's sort of an individual. If people want to go. And some you're born to be a Buddhist, but we don't go to church that often. So I guess without this church, I guess first time I came, I was just lost.
What year was this?
49.
49.
No, 48. I'm sorry, 48. Like a couple of years after the war.
And you've been here ever since? Mm-hmm. Like, do you still go back to Japan?
Oh, 3 times I went last 42 years, only 3 times. But every time you go home, it's not my country anymore. It's everything different. So I always miss Colorado. Because over there it's so crowded and street is narrow, and I miss I've been a farmer's wife ever since, so I miss the space.
How did you meet your husband?
He was, after war, he was stationed in Fukuoka. So then I was graduate college, and I was helping one of the photo studio. My English was good, but I guess a little bit better than the boss, so helping the American soldier come in a studio, and my boss don't understand the English, so sort of communicate too.
Can you tell us about some of the changes you've witnessed with this temple in Greeley? Because it looks like this is new, and I know it wasn't always this nice.
No, we remodeled. When was it?
1977, 78, I think we.
Well,
Most
of my fondest memory was when our children were small, and we have this flower festival every springtime. We prepare for a program for a month, and I knew some songs from back home, so I just teach all these children to sing or dance on the stage. So, those days are really.
What year was that?
I was about 50, around
だからね、攻撃ばっかりしとって若い時に。本当ですよ。年を取ったら上手だってね。本当。私20まで、当年まで日本におったから、信仰はないけど、仏教のことはよく知ってるよ。
He's talking so many things, and he can hear other people. So he just, whatever he wants to say, he just say.
It's good. We were trying to, what did he say though? We've been through this before with the issei stuff.
Really?
Yeah, so don't be embarrassed. No.
あなた電話にお名前は
What is your name? He said.
Vicky.
That's trouble comes. So I always have pencil and paper and I write it. They show him. He could read it. But he just, ear is just 100% can hear.
Okay, that's good.
中の先生が上手だったね
Yep.
日本語と英語とで
Jim Shimada.
中の先生
And he said what?
He's talking about the Reverend Shinoda. He could speak both language.
今の先生はぐらい
Translate.
先からやこの英語ばっかりだから僕は買い前だわからん
Well, he said, not modern Reverend, some, can speak in Japanese very well. But he can hear anyway.
It's okay. We're trying to get all the isseis to say things like that. We want lots of out of the isseis because we will never hear from them again.
You could let him talk big jokes.
Yeah, well, that's good. All right, that's good. All right, now, back to the 50s. Now, introduce our guests.
名前
西富士。
大きい声で言ってください。
はい。富士西。
西さん、
はい。
いつこのコロラドに来られましたか。
1940。
Okay.
戦争前ですね。
戦争で立ち退きできたんです。
あ、そうですか。
はい。
昔はどこにおられました。
ロサンゼルス。
あ、そうですか。
はい。
そうですか。
1943、44です。
あ、そうですか。こちらに移ってすぐにグリーリーの仏教会に来られました。
はい。
そうですか。どなたかが教えてくださったんですか。
寄付に回られたんですよ。
あ、そうですか。
はい。これ立つのにね。その時が初めて会いました。
そうですか。別に新しいことを言ったり、新しいことを何か窮屈な思いをするんですけど、そうでもなかったですか。
いいえ、
皆さん大変親切に受け入れてくださいましたか。
はい。
そうですか。西さん、ご主人とどういうふうにして会われましたか。誰か心配してくださったんですか。心配結婚して私がハワイで言ってますけど。
いいえ、自分たちで好きで結婚したんです。
そうですか。
は
珍しいね。それで結婚式はどっかのロサンゼルスの仏教会かなんかでされたんですか。
はい。
そうですか。どの開教式か覚えておられます。どの開教式があなたの結婚式を施行されたのか。
仏教会でなかったですよ。
そうですか。
はい。
そうですか。それで結構ですよ。それでこちらに来て。
そしてハスバンドが仏教だったので私も一緒に仏教になったんで、私のうちは神道ですよ。
あ、そうですか。はい、別にこちらに移ってから仏教の教会に来られてね、何か気持ちがしっくりしなかったですか。それともすんなりと。
私は仏教が好きだったんですよ。
そうですか。
はい。日本でも仏教のお葬式がとっても好きだったです。
そうするとこちらに来られる前からも玉井先生の噂を聞いておられましたか。
玉井先生はここに来てから知ったんですよ。湯川輪番なんか知ってます。はい。
私は親子ともよく知っております。
そうですか。
ロサンゼルスの生活はなんですけれども、こちらに来られて
やはりこのグリーリーですか、ラブランドですか、こちらに移ってよかったと思われます？
そうですね、やっぱりこっちの方が落ち着いてますよ。
あ、そうですか。街の中ではないし、
はい、
割合にたくさんなんちゅうんですかね、家のない場所が多いですからね。
そうです。
そうですね。何かあなたこちらに来られて気づかれたことあります？もうあなたこちらに居ついてしまわれて、また戦争終わってからロサンゼルスに帰ろうということをご夫婦で決められなかった、ずっとここらにおられましたね。
はい。
それはやっぱり住むのに非常に気持ちが良かったから。
そうでもないですけどね。
子供たちがやっぱり
はい、貧乏でね。
はい。
帰られなかったんですよ。
ああ、なるほどね。そういうことも聞いておきたいわけです。はい。
Because he got sick all of a sudden, he was planning to come and bring us pictures that he takes because he's a photographer. And we didn't join the church here right away after he came out after the war. We were sent to camp, and after camp, we came here to Greeley, and we farmed for about, it must have been about 17 or 18 years. We farmed, and then we left the farm. But during the time we was in the farm, they had asked us to join this church because we weren't a member, being that we had come from California.
What part of California?
Salinas. My husband was from Salinas, and I was from Watsonville. And then we went into Poston, Arizona for 2 years. Then came out here, and of course he was taken to the service for a year. And he came back, and then we farmed ever since. But then after about 17 years of farming, the folks left and went back to California, but we stayed. So we farmed then another 4 years or so, but it got too hard because we didn't have the help and stuff. So then we gave up the farm and came into town.
So then you're here at the temple. What minister do you remember?
Well, I remember all the ministers because the Reverend Tamai was here at the time. Of course, I don't know from way back because we didn't know him then, but Reverend Tamai and Reverend Tsunoda and Reverend Sugiyama, and knew all of those. And at the time when my children were younger, of course there was lots of children in the Sunday school, so we had Sunday school, and it was really good.
How large was your Sunday school then?
What's that?
How large was it?
Well, we have a picture here that shows the Sunday school group. But now that the children have all grown up, they've all gone different places. Like my son, he left Greeley and went to the service and was in the service for 22 years, but then he didn't come back. He stayed in Arizona. And so it seemed like all the children that were about his age have all gone to different places and not stayed here. So naturally our Sunday school has gotten a lot smaller.
Put the picture down. In your opinion, what do you think is the future for this temple?
Of course, I don't know what the future will bring because we don't have enough young children to the next generation. We don't have enough of them coming to our church. So I don't know what will become after we're gone.
Would anybody else like to talk about that? What do you think is the future?
About the future? Well, the main thing is we're going to have to try to get the younger generation to come to the church. And what we're going to have to do, the Nisei is going to have to give the sanseis and yonseis a little more responsibility. I think that way they may take a little more interest. We had the same problem in our time. Most Isseis, they were just a little bit skeptical about letting the Nisseis take over, so we got a little bit late. Now we're come into the same situation. I think the Nisei is going to have to give sanseis and yonseis more responsibility and try to get them to attend the church.
Introduce the guest next to you.
I'm HanaMatsuri, and I grew up in Nebraska, and we moved here in 1939, and we belong to the Buddhist church because we got to know Tamai Sensei, and
Were you farming?
yes, we farmed, raised mostly onions, and then we had a grocery store for 16 years.
You're in Greeley?
No, it's a little 10 miles south of Greely and Kersey. And see, I don't know what else to tell you.
Your memories of the different reverends. Pick your favorite.
Well, we had Tamai Sensei and Tsunoda Sensei and Reverend Oda and Reverend Sugiyama. So,
If you had to pick a favorite.
oh, we have to pick a favorite? Well, Reverend Oda was a very good minister.
What was so special about Reverend Oda?
Well, he had spoke both Japanese and English very well, and he had been in the service. But Reverend Tsunoda was also, he used to bring movies here, till real late at night, about 12 o'clock, and he'd have to take his machine down, and that we really enjoyed that. Yes.
You guys remember the movies?
Japanese movies.
What year was that?
Oh, gee, I don't know what year that would be. Just quite a while ago.
15 years ago now.
Do you think that would help if they brought the movies back?
They used to always look forward to it, especially the older folks. Always that was their what do you say? They looked forward to coming to church because they didn't have any other activities. They had to work on the farm all the time, so they always looked for once a month service and Reverend Snow to bring in the movies that they could see.
What else did you used to do for fun?
In the church, well, years ago we had our HanaMatsuri, which is today, and we used to put on plays, and they used to dance, and we did a lot of things. But there were more people then, and the older folks always wanted to show us how to put on a dance or a play, and they'd like to make the costumes for us, and they had a great time then.
So did you have a kohaku?
A who?
Kohaku Utagasing out here? Was there a Utagasing, they have down in Denver at the Buddhist temple? They have the Utagasing down in Denver. Did they ever have one out here or in the outlying areas?
Oh, you mean like a talent show
Yeah.
deal?
Kind of spread around. One is in Phoenix, Arizona, and one is in Boulder, and we have one in Illinois.
Do the children of Boulder come back and visit?
Yes, they come back.
And they have children?
Yes, they have children also.
So there was assurance that the generation...
Yes, I think so.
How about everybody else? Do you have children here in Greeley, or did they have to learn elsewhere?
I have one in Greely. He has taken over this photography shop that we have, but and he just has one boy. And the one that was in the service, of course, he was in there 22 years, retired 2 years ago. He has 2 girls, but they decided not to come back to Colorado because it was too cold.
Do you ever miss California?
No, not really, because we left California just about the time that I had graduated high school. So then I didn't have no desire to go back, because by the time we could go back, well, we were established here in Greeley, so we just stayed. The rest of the family moved to California, but we didn't.
Yeah.
We all please Kanbutsu. We have an offering of flowers and candy. Sweet, sweet something.
All of you, please, last show. Please, last show. Namo Amizatsu. Thank you very much. Please open to the page 106, Three Treasures. Hard it is to be born into human form. Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the teaching of the blessed ones. Now we hear it. If we do not deliver ourselves in the present life, no hope is there that we shall be free from suffering and sorrow in the ocean of birth and death. Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of the way to enlightenment and become aware of supreme teaching. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of his doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we all together become unit into accord in the life of harmony, in a spirit of universal brotherhood, free from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages and myriads of culprits, hard is it to secure such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teachings. Naman doubts, naman doubts, naman doubts, naman doubts. Please be seated. Good evening. I'm sure you feel very much kind of uptight, because someone is taking a video, so that's okay. If you don't like a certain portion, you could ask him to just cut it out. So, okay, you feel very comfortable this evening. We're celebrating the Buddha's birthday. We recreate the place where he was born. It's a Lumbini flower garden, and we just make shrine here and covered with this flower. We also keep the basin and this shrine in which we put some sweet tea and also baby Buddha statue. I was talking to Martin before we started this service. When you read the Buddha's life story, many times you will find something that you cannot really believe. It's not really something that you have to believe. What described in this book is that lots of Buddhist symbolic meaning, and also Indian cultural heritage is also included in this life story of the Buddha. Now, place where Buddha was born, we call Lumbini. Presently, it's a southern part of Nepal. Nepal is situated between Himalayan mountain ranges and also Indian subcontinent. In the past, 3 times I visited this beautiful place. It's a really nice place. However, all that I imagined was completely, I was very much disappointed because I imagined the place where Buddha was born would be, covered with flowers. But there wasn't that much flowers, and all that I could see is the ruins and square, ponds and some trees, and also a small Buddhist temple. That's all. However, as I came to know that that's really happened 2,500 years ago, naturally everything really changed. Buddha's father was called Siddhartha, mother was Queen Maya. Both of them didn't have children for a long time, but Queen Maya became pregnant. She was about to give a birth baby, and there's some Indian custom, Japan too, where my sister was pregnant and was about to give a birth to baby. She came back to our house. Instead of instead of going to a hospital, she gave a birth to a first baby at our house. So you can always go back to your mother's place and give a birth to a first one. That was most of the Asian so-called custom. And so Queen Maya, she went back to her parents' place, and before she came back to her parents' castle, there was a garden called Lumbini Garden. Springtime in India, naturally you see lots of flowers and trees. And it happened to be a full of flowers, really in bloom, this little garden. So she stopped, walked around, strolled around this wonderful garden. She came to this Ashoka tree. Ashoka means happy. So happy tree, or tree of happiness. Well, a small orange color flowers is really in bloom on this happy tree, Ashoka tree. She was about to pluck this on the branch of this tree. The baby was born. What part of the body? Legend says, Martin, under the arm, huh? You can't really believe that baby was born out of the mom's underarm. This is some very interesting Indian culture. Those scripture says the people who belong to a higher class, it's a Brahmin class or priest class, were born out of human mouths. Mouth is, you breathe. And breathing is very important to Indian religious practices. So higher place is born out of the mouth, and the warrior class born out of the mother's, the underarm, and the marching class born out of the sexual organ. Okay, and then the labor class is born out of the knee. I'm sorry. Okay, and then untouchables. They're not really regarded as humans, but as regarded as the animals. It's terrible. They're born out of this food. So you could see that we call this caste system. It's a real discrimination system. Anyway, after he was born, his father named him Siddhartha Gautama. Siddhartha means the every wish fulfilled. Gautama is his family name. Anyway, later he became a Buddha. Okay, but he really welcomed anyone of any kinds of background. Okay, he didn't really practice this discrimination. And I'm happy because I became a Buddhist minister. Our religion doesn't really advocate so-called discrimination. By the way, after he became a Buddha, right, he welcomed anyone. But when you go to India, okay, Hindu temple didn't really allow me to get in because I'm not a Hindu. I belong to a priest class, but they didn't, let me in. But even Indian people who belong to a lowest class, untouchable, they're not really welcome to get into their temples. So you know what really meant to us. Now Buddha, not only he didn't discriminate, his hair is really curly black hair. And the blue eyes, you remember. And then skin is a golden color. Buddha had the Asian blood mostly, but yet he had the Caucasian blood, blue eyes, and then curly hair with the black color. So he had the Dravidian blood. Dravidian is an Indian native. Actually, it's Africans. Don't you think Buddha himself was the mixture of the three bloods? Not only he had physically, he really practiced non-discrimination, but also mentally, emotionally, spiritually, he really practiced non-discrimination. Would you please open the page 114? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, a paragraph from the top. 114, page 114, paragraph 8 from the top. It says, even if a man has power over others, yet he ought to be gentle with the weak. With a pure heart full of love, I will act towards others exactly as I would act towards myself. This is the Buddha's words. Now I'd like to change my story. Have you ever been at Disneyland Would you please raise your hand? Okay. How about two girls sitting on the last row of the... Have you ever been at the Disneyland? No. How about Disney World? No. That's fine. How about have you seen Disney movies? It's very good. You know, one time Walt Disney was very poor artist. Okay? He wasn't really, a rich man in the beginning. He was really poor. However, he was a very, very compassionate person. Not only he didn't really discriminate on people, but also any living things. He stayed at very humble so-called apartments. When he just went home, apartment, he saw small baby mouses moving around. What do you do if, when you see baby mouses walking on your house? You're going to chase them out? You're going to try to catch it, right? Walt Disney didn't do that. He was eating this, and as he was eating this bread and some meats and vegetable, he just took some pieces of this bread, gave the, this bread to mouse. Soon later, this small mouse and Walt Disney became very good friends. Now you can understand what kind of character he created out of this, friendly mouse. It's Mickey Mouse. If he didn't, he wasn't really a man of really compassion loving with this particular mouse, he wouldn't be really creating Mickey Mouse later on. So he created lots of beautiful animals. He's the one who really taught us Americans, particularly we Americans, how to love the animals without knowing through movies and those characters. Somehow we smile a lot at animals because this Walt Disney's real heart, not children. I'm sure you're surprised because I talk about the Walt Disney. In 1963, he died while I was in Berkeley, California. The newspaper carried lots of praise from dignitaries in America, not only in America, throughout the world. He gave us lots of hope and dream. That's why not only we live today, but without hope and dream, we can't really live today. So don't you think? Walt Disney was just like Buddha. He really taught us how to live harmoniously with other people, how to love not only human but also other forms of life. So the day when we really observe this birthday of the second Buddha, he says, with a pure heart full of love, I will act towards others exactly as I would act towards myself. I thought, after I learned this on Walt Disney, until then, I never wanted to go to Disneyland while I was living in California. But after I read his stories and some people praised him after he died, I changed my mind. And I went to Los Angeles with my wife, and I enjoyed all day. Before I went to Disneyland, I thought that was only kid stuff. Boy, that's us. That's a wonderful facility for adults. Now, happy birthday of the Buddha. Thank you. Namaste.
Well, the children going into the kitchen for their Dharma school class. Stay out of the food, too. Reverend Cujo will do the adult Dharma talk now too.
This evening I'm so hot, I thought it would be a very cold day, but we celebrate the Buddha's birthday again. And we also recreate this Lumbini pot by putting this small shrine covered with flowers. About 100 years ago, Dr. Führer, he was the German archaeologist. He was walking by around this place Buddha was born. First he found out this Asoka's pillar. King Asoka was actually a very, very great king in the history of India. About 200 years after Buddha was born, he actually ruled entire subcontinent of India. Anyway, this Dr. Führer found out Asoka's pillar on which some sentences are actually curved. It says, King Piyadasi, beloved of the gods, having been anointed 20 years, came himself and worshipped and saying, here Buddha Shakyamuni was born. And he caused this stone pillar to be erected. Because here, the Bhagavan, Buddha has been born, made free of taxes, and a recipient of wealth. So he actually pardoned those villages where this Lumbini park was actually located. In those days, tax was actually 1/4, quarter% of their income was actually taken away as a tax. But in this case, it says made free of tax, actually 1/8 of their income was taxed. So in a way, those villagers had very comfortable, tax. This King Ashoka became a Buddhist, or 7 years after he became a king. However, a year after, he really, invaded this eastern part of India we call Kalinga. Just like in the Iraqi, war. 100,000 people became casualties. So you understand that more than 100,000 Iraqis are actually dead. But today, we don't know how disastrous things really happened. We don't know. However, King Ashoka, he walked on this battleground, found out so many people really dead and suffered with this injuries. Okay, this really changed his so-called worldview and life view. He decided to rule India with the religious law instead of just sword and also spears. And now, because of the King Ashoka's so-called pillars erected, we knew today exactly where Buddha was born, where Buddha was actually enlightened, and also where he shared his first sermon, and also where he died. Now, coming back to this Buddha's birth story, after he was taken back to a castle, this hermit called Asita, he actually predicted one thing. Naturally, king and queen were really happy about the baby. What hermit Asita really said after he really took a close look at this newborn baby, he said, "Congratulations to king and queen. Your baby son will either he would become a great world ruler, or he will be world honored one. He's becoming a Buddha." As he heard this story, the king was so happy. And then because his country is something like the state of, a Connecticut, it's very small. So he naturally being a ruler of the small country called Kapilavatsuri, okay? He just wanted to make the country really bigger. However, one day he was shocked. The prediction is not 50-50. You don't know, sometimes 100% and none. So in order to make his son wish to be a great ruler, he became the absolutely, a protectionist father. His sons and attendants are all young and beautiful, young and handsome. Now all the people are never been surrounding this young person. And then his life was just like was really taking place in the greenhouse, well protected by younger peoples. And then the life was actually being really covered up because he couldn't see the reality outside his, the castle. Okay. Now after this man became a Buddha, he recalls on his childhood. Sutra says, my father's residences, had lotus pond. In this pond, there are a variety of lotus flowers, red ones, and blue ones, and white ones. Those flowers are so beautiful. I was always, clothed with the real nice silky clothes made in Kasi, present Varanasi. And also my rooms was always scented with this sandalwood incense made in Kasi. And we always ate in white rice and also meat. Means that his life was very much a luxury. And then Shakya clan was a clan of real pride, tribal pride, a people of the tribal pride. Anyway, Buddha was the one who really recorded his life in this way. And then not only he recalled his life of the difference, but he's the one who really overcame his real differences. Now we pour this sweet tea over the baby Buddha this evening. This recorded my first meeting with son. You ladies, when you gave birth to a baby, I'm sure you had a sense of achievement. But on the Sunday, January 24th, 1969, the afternoon I got a call from my wife. She was at the Queen's Medical Center in Honolulu. Boy, you got a baby son. So as soon as you finish work at your the temple, please come to hospital. So I went, and I stopped at my wife's room, and she got up and took me to the place where our son was really, sleeping. I saw about several, cribs. The crib had each names. So my wife told me that's our son Eldon. And so just like an octopus, small baby was sleeping. I couldn't really recognize my son. But anyway, my feeling was, unlike my wife's, I didn't have any sense of achievement or sense of, joy. Rather, I had tremendous amount of sense of embarrassment. I didn't do anything because for last 9 months, my wife's the one who really reared this baby. And naturally, sometimes she had a cramp. She, fell down something because of this babies. Anyway, First my meeting with the baby was, I still remember though, I had a sense of embarrassment. Here, don't you think that you ladies, 9 months you really took care of the baby. You are the one who really nurtured. And you gave the necessary nourishment. So baby became, large enough, big enough to be born to this world. After a few days after, well, I had to pick them up and baby and take them back home. Until then, I never heard babies crying. But at home, my son cried. What did you think of this and crying? I thought, oh, this is the kind of exclamation of what Buddha did. Do you remember after Buddha was born, we had a shower, 2 kinds of showers, and lukewarm water shower and also cool shower, okay? But later, after he was really cleansed with this 2 kinds of shower, he walked to the full direction, and he put his right hands upward and left hands downward, and he said, I'll be world honored. Sounds like my, the baby's first crying. To me, it was just like an exclamation. Dad and Mommy, I'm so happy to be born to this world. And I was given this a precious life. I thought I really got Buddha's child in our life. Later, I got 2 others added, and then I do have 3 Buddha's children. Now, ladies and gentlemen, don't you think that we all have this Buddha's children? To my parents, I was one of the Buddha's children. Now, not only enjoy this, enjoy having a beautiful child, but also this sense of happiness and joy are really, aroused within ourselves. So I could really understand what kind of feeling came to the Dharma and Queen Maya head when they really got the baby called Siddhartha Gautama. Now, I want to share this story with the children, but I talked a different story. In 1964, and Japanese government in Japan really held an Olympic in Tokyo. And then one day, this elementary school kids from Taito, a ward of Tokyo, they were about to go to this stadium, gym, to see a valuable a game taking place between Bulgaria and Japan. So this class teacher told the children, now today we're going to we gave a cheer to a Japanese team. Then a few children really objected. Teacher, we're not going to cheer a Japanese team. We're going to cheer a Bulgarian team. Because we are in Japan, and we have so many Japanese people watching the game. But that's not really fair, they said. So we are going to, our class are going to give a cheer to the Bulgarian team. Now this is what I hope you and I really appreciate. Because when we see the difference, people in differences, we just shut out our own mind. We forgot to open our minds. And rather, we just look down the people who do have differences. Look at children. They know that we are outnumbered in Japan. But yet, people from Bulgaria, I don't think they had lots of people who cheered the Bulgarians. But it's children, class of the children, they just wanted to give a cheer to this Bulgarian team because simply they thought that was really unfair. I think children will have a sense of equality and also sense of non-discrimination. Rather, they just want to show their wonderful heart to the people come from the European countries here. Now tonight, we are celebrating this Buddha's birthday. Buddha is the one who was born to this higher, class. However, he's the one who really denounced such a, the caste system. And then yet, he really enjoyed living with the people of any differences. Now, this is what I really want to share with you tonight.
Thank you very much, Reverend. Please stand for the Sankamon. It's on page 1. That will be followed by Japanese dharma talk.
大きい声で一緒に唱和してください。人参受けがたしますでに浮く仏法を聞きがたしますでに聞く。この身根性に向かってどせずんばさらにいずれの章に向かってかこの身をどせん。大衆もともに真に参謀に消し立てまつるべし。自ら仏に消し立てまつる。まさに願わくは修行とともに大道を体現して無常意を降参。自ら法に消し立てまつる。まさに願わくは修行とともに深く共存に理系地海のごとくならん。自らそうに消し立てまつる。まさに願わくは修行とともに大衆を通りして一切不明ならん。不常人人未妙の法や無千万号にも愛をごとごたし、これ今検問し受持することを得たり、願わくは如来の真実義を下し立てまつらん。南無阿弥陀仏、頑張りだ。どうぞお座りください。ちょっと華厳経からね、ちょっと読ませていただきましょう。例えば火が出ると一切の闇が除かれ、あまねく一切のものを照らして余すところがない。山々や大地や池を照らしてすべてのものを育て恵みを与える。仏もまたそのようにすべての人に恵みを与え、それらすべてのものの善のもとを育て知を与え、その光によって一切の闇を除くと。南無阿弥陀仏、南無阿弥陀仏。今日は仏教の催しといいますとなんか悲しいことが多いんですけれども、楽しい集まりといいますと花祭りとそれから豪誕院であります。可愛らしいベビーブッダベビーブッダに乾物をさせてもらうなんとも愉快な仏教の行事であります。英語でも言いましたように、私は子供が生まれた時に長男ばかりじゃなしにあとの2人の子供に病院に行ったんですけど、なんとも照れくさい気持ちがして、喜びよりも照れくさいかったことをよく覚えております。別に世話したわけでもなしに、一方的にうちのワイフが頑張ってくれたおかげで9ヶ月間随分不自由な思いをして、そして生まれてくる子供のことを気にかけて、ああしたいこうしたいというわけでいろいろ不自由な体を抱えて一生懸命世話してくれたことを考えると、私は何もしたことがないので、生まれてきた子供に会うのに何か後ろめいた気がしたわけなんであります。でも考えてみると、子供の泣き声を聞いて、これがお釈迦様の天上天下唯我独尊という気持ち、全くそうやなと、ありがたい命をもらって生まれてきたということが大変難しいこと、その難しいことを大変喜んでくれておる声だなということを私は思ったことがありました。今日は私皆様方に大事なことを聞いてもらおう思うてここに、 日本語の新聞を読まれる人には、このロッキーマウンテン地方にユナイテッド航空機墜落、日本人1人含む25人死亡って書いてあるんですね。実は私がお葬式させてもらおうと思うんです。で、3月の3日、サンデー、10時前に、このイリノイから来ました飛行機がデンバーに着いて、デンバーからコロラドスプリングスに行きましたよね。急激な下降気流によって飛行機がなんていうんですか、真っ逆さまになって、そのままこのパークに突っ込んだんですね。もうパークのほんの隣がアパートの2列になるアパートですよ。あれがもう少し西側に通ったら完全にこのアパートでもっともっと人が死なれたと思うんですけれども、とにかく私頼まれましてね、木曜日でした。私4日後コロラドスプリングス行って家族の方の前でこのお参りさせてもらったんですけれども、まだ結婚して19年だっておっしゃってましたね。だから子供さんも17ぐらいでしたよ。17と16ぐらいの男の子と女の子が来てました。それから亡くなった人のお兄さんと、それからこの奥さんの兄さんか弟さん、兄弟が見えてました。それから電気学園中学校から2人の先生が代表で見えてました。それからサンフランシスコの領事館から2人のこの外交官の人が世話をするために来ておられて、それからユナイテッド航空会社から3人の人がこういうお参りにちゃんと代表を派遣しておられました。それから2人白人の人と日本人の女性がおられたので、その人たちはどなたか知りません。とにかくですね、こういうその交通事故とかあるいは飛行機事故で亡くなった人のお葬式をたまたま仏教界の開教師をしているとさせられるんですけども、もう一人あなた方は忘れてしまわれたと思うんですけども、私が来ました翌年11月の15日、1987年の11月15日に今のコンティネンタルエアラインが雪の中をですね飛び上がるときにひっくり返ってしもうて、そしてたくさんの人が亡くなった。そのうちのデンバーの人たちの中で3人亡くなったんですね。その3人の1人が秀島誠っていう人なんですね。この人は亡くなった。54歳でした。で、その時に私と、それからこの度にやっぱりそういう話が出たんですけれども、皆さん方私がいいと思った人が生き残り、あんなやつどうでもいいっていうのが死んだって思い出したんですね。これは非常に悪いものの見方なんですよ。よく皆さん方ですね、話聞いとると、ああ助かった、ああ仏さんが私を見てくださったですね。これは亡くなった人の家族から見てると非常に残酷な言葉なんですね。これは仏教では言わんのです。よくこの秀島さんが亡くなった後で TV 見とったんですよ。そしたら女の子を連れた若いお母さんが走ってきたんですよ。そして飛行機に乗り遅れたんですね。乗り遅れたおかげで自分はそのひっくり返った飛行機で傷つくかあるいは死ななくて済んだ。その時に何を言われたかってね、いややっぱり私の神様は私を本当に見てくださっておったんだな言われて、私は不愉快になったですね。そうすると何ですか、自分は良い人間だから助かって悪い人間はみんな死んだっていうことになるんですね。そういうそのものを分けて見る見方っていうのは仏教じゃせんのです。だからこの私たちの仏教の方でこの「歎異抄」のですね第3章に何が書いてあるかというと、これ大事なことなんですね。この「歎異抄」の第3章にこういうことが書いてあるんですね。ごめんなさい。この仏様の慈悲というのはどういうことかというと、私たちが考えるいい人であろうとなかろうと、人間っていうのはなかなか修行をしても悟りを開くことができんから、煩悩不足の凡夫であるから、私は本願を完成して念仏をみんなにこのシェアして、そしてみんなに仏になってもらおう、そのために私はこの本願を立てたんだとおっしゃったんですね。 そうするとその考え方から言ったら、自分は仏様のおぼし飯を無視して、わしはええ人間だから仏様が余計に私を良くしてくださって、あれは良くない人間だから仏様は見殺しにされたって、そういう教えは仏教にないんであります。いいですか皆さん方。たとえあなた方のご主人やあるいは奥さんが先に亡くなられても、あなたよりか先に亡くなった人が悪い人間だから先に行ったって、そういう教えは全然ないんであります。私たち一人一人が持っておる寿命というものはですね、初めから生まれた時に決まっとるわけじゃないんですよ。いいですか。そうすると短い命を持っとった方が良くなくて長生きした方がええかって、これも違います。いいですか。一人一人が考えることですよ。いいですね。仏教では何を言うかというと、たとえ18年しか生きなかったものも、90年もしか長生きされた人も、あるいは50年しか生きられなかった人も、みんなそれぞれその人の命において長生きしたと同じぐらいのですね、内容の濃い人生を送られたと考えていくわけ。いいですか。私も自分の父親がですね、51で死んでしもうて、私は考えたんですよ。どうして父親は早く死んでしもうたのかなと思って。そしたら考えたら、私の父親は御門酒のですね、カバン持ちずっとしてましたよ。セクレタリーみたいなことをね。そうしますと、当時ですね、私の父親なんかが御門酒の行かれるとこを先行っては準備する係をしたもんですからね。そうすると御門酒と同じように扱ってもらったわけですね。そうすると私らが90年長生きしても父親のですね、中身の濃い人生っていうのは送れないと思うんですね。だから私は後からこの開教師になってから考えましたよ。なるほど、父親は人に比べて短い命やったかもしらんけれども、90年生きる、あるいは100年生きてもなかなか生きることができないような生活をさせてもろうたんだから、51年っていうのはあながち短くなかったなと思うわけなんです。いいですか皆さん方。実はお釈迦様がこの世に生まれてくださって、何が私にとって大事かというと、実は内容なんです。ただ私たちがその表向きにですね捉えられて、いや背が高いの低いの、いや超えとるの細いのとか、そういうことじゃなしに、あるいは長生きしたとか短い命やったとか言うんじゃなしに、実は私たちがみんな一人一人尊い人生、命を恵まれたわけ。そのためには私たち本当にですね、なかなか選ぶことができない命をもろうて今日までこうして生きとるということはただならんことですよ。実は自分以外の全てのそのおかげでもって今日までこう来たと。そうすると実はもう感謝してもしきれるだけのですね、素晴らしい恵みの中に自分たちが生きておったということを感じなくちゃいけない。そのために今日は実は私たちお喜びを示しましたよ。陥没することによってね。あなた方も私たちもありがたいことに、こうしてこの世に生まれた時に親が本当に喜んでね、私たちのこの生まれてきたことを親が喜んでくれたということをよく知った時に、自分も自分たちの子供が親のこのただの人間の子ではなしに仏の子供を授かったと、お互いに仏にならしてもらうためにこの世に生まれてきたんだと思うた時に、ただの人間の世界ではなしに素晴らしい人生というのが開けるのではないかと思います。今日はこれくらいで私の話を終わりしたいです。ナマンダウツナマンダウツ。
Please stand for the Gatha HanaMatsuri Soshin Yoku. Page 125.
昔も昔3000年花咲にを春よか響き渡ったしと声は天にも地にも 派な国に生まれいで、富も位もありながら、一人お城を抜け入れて、甘露がたる音苦行、丸い世界の真ん中で、教えの門を打ち開き、乾ける人に振りまいた甘露の水は限りなし。何年経っても変わらずに咲いたままなるのりの花、きれいな一つを胸に刺し、我らも負けずに励みましょう。
Now we'll have the metta.
May all beings be happy. May they be joyous and live in safety. All living beings, whether weak or strong, in high or middle, or lower realms of existence, small or great, visible or invisible, near or far, born or to be born, may all beings be happy. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu.
There have been many changes in the last 75 years. What does the future hold? More changes. There is an old Japanese saying, "Life is a chain of uncertainties, and all things are subject to change." This video, which commemorates the 75th anniversary of the Tri-State Buddhist temples, is dedicated to the memory of the Issei men and women who practiced Jodo Shinshu with steadfast shinjin and perseverance. It is through their efforts that our temples have become a reality, and the Buddhist way of life has been passed on to future generations.